I'm John Menino with Milton Township and the Township officials of DuPage. I'm here today with Judge Monique O'Toole from the DuPage County Courts. How are you today, Judge?
I'm great. Thank you, John, for having me.
We're excited to have you. I just wanted to go right into it. Can we describe your background and the path that made you becoming a judge?
Sure. Well, I grew up in Hinsdale. I'm the oldest of 4 children. My husband and I have lived in Clarendon Hills, which is DuPage County, for the last 26 years. Been married for 25 years. Raised our son there. And we actually met in law school. And I didn't know I wanted to go to law school right away. I was in college. I started college thinking that I wanted to be a journalist, and took a couple classes and decided that that was not for me. So I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity during the summers that I was home from college to intern at the DuPage County State's Attorney's Office in the Victim Witness Advocate Division under then State's Attorney Jim Ryan. And it was then that really sparked my interest to go to law school. I also interned during the school year when I was in college at the Boulder County Justice Center in the probation department. So those 2 experiences made me change my mind. I applied to law school, went to law school. During law school, I was a law clerk at the State's Attorney's Office in the criminal division during that period of time. And I was fortunate enough to be hired as an assistant State's Attorney in the criminal division right after I got out of law school. And I focused primarily in I spent most of my time in the domestic violence division, courtroom, as well as the juvenile division. So after I spent a period of time there, I decided I wanted to sort of branch out and do some civil work and sort of diversify my legal experience. And so I had the opportunity again to work under then Attorney General Jim Ryan. At the Attorney General's office, I was an assistant Attorney General. I worked in the Civil Appeals Division. I represented various state agencies in cases on appeal in many appellate courts across the state. And while I was doing that, I decided I wanted to go back to law school and get a LLM in health law, which is a Master's of Law.
Of course.
And
wow. Impressive.
Thank you. My interest in health law actually stems from my background growing up. My dad's a physician, my mom's a nurse. I have lots of aunts, uncles, cousins that are in the medical field, and my interest was never in medicine, but it was always intriguing to me, and I wanted to blend my experience with growing up with that background with my interest in the law and my love of the law. And so I did that. During that period of time that I was getting my Master's of Law, I was also raising my son too, and Attorney General Jim Ryan created one of the first healthcare bureaus in an Attorney General's office across the country. At that time, I was one of the first attorneys to staff that unit. And what we did was basically it was under the rubric of Consumer Fraud Bureau, and we advocated for consumers and protected them from unfair and deceptive business practices from healthcare providers and health insurance companies. And so that was a wonderful experience. But then again, I wanted to broaden my horizon again and get some private practice experience because I spent most of my legal career up until that point in the public sector. And so I worked in 10 years in private practice. I did real estate work. I did estate planning and probate. And then decided I really missed the public sector and was hoping to get back into the public sector, either at the Attorney General's office or the State's Attorney's office. And an opportunity came up about almost 7 years ago where I got a call, and then State's Attorney Bob Berlin hired me on in their child support enforcement unit. And so we collected child support and enforced child support orders for the custodial parents and their children. And so that was very, very rewarding for me, and I really enjoyed doing that. But an opportunity came up last October where I was appointed a circuit court judge by the Illinois Supreme Court. So my path was not usual. Usually, in terms of becoming a judge, you're usually an associate judge, and then you get appointed. But there are some circumstances where and opportunities that people get when you're just generally appointed and don't do the associate judge route. So since October, I've been in the traffic division, and until the COVID pandemic hit in March, traffic courts have been closed. So fortunately, I've been able to circulate back into the misdemeanor courts. So that's been exciting.
Wow, incredible. I can tell you that we have some related issues because me being in real estate, so I do understand you've been in so many different parts of the law, so it's great that you are looking to seek out the elected position as well. Keep you around for a nice long time.
Yes, I hope so.
How are you involved in your local community, and why do you think it's important?
Sure, I'm glad you asked that question because I think it's so important for people to be involved in their communities. As I stated, my husband and I have raised our son for the last 26 years in Clarendon Hills. When he was young, he's 25 now and lives in New York City, but when he was young, I focused my attention on volunteering at our parish. I ran the dinner dance and auction there. I was also the president of the parent-teacher organization of the school that my son attended. I was active in the Fenwick Mothers Club, which is where my son attended high school. I also started 17 years ago a book club in our community, and that has local ties to the library, and it's still active today. In fact, we have a Zoom meeting on Thursday.
Cool.
So I think we have over 200 books we've done in the last 17 years. So that I'm very proud about, and the fact that we are tying that to our library. At this time, it's a little bit complicated, but we're trying to do it electronically to give people the books that are on our list. And so since my son has been, out of the house, I have transitioned into volunteering at the Hinsdale Humane Society. I'm a volunteer there. I'm a dog walker, actually. I love dogs. My dog passed away a couple years ago. She was a 13-and-a-half-year-old lab. Her name was Jeter. I'm a big baseball fan, Yankees fan.
Okay.
White Sox, not Cubs, but I know. I'm sorry. I like baseball. I'm a big baseball fan, but
that's good.
I think it's really important to give back to your community and to these vulnerable animals as well, because they're in need too. And I also am a Hinsdale Rotary member, and we've done a lot of critical services, especially during this COVID period. Just recently, we donated 225 face shields to Hinsdale Hospital because there's a PPE shortage, as well as People's Resource Center. I know you have one here in Wheaton. Yes, gloves.
Shortage, yeah.
We also donated many essential products and items to People's Resource Center in Westmont, which is closer to me. I know you have one here in Wheaton.
Yes.
The food pantry, and I've been doing that with them as well. So I'm proud to be a member of that. And why do I think it's important? Because I think that as human beings, really, and not only as a judge, but as a human being, you owe a responsibility to not only yourself, but to other people. And I think it's very important now because that's how communities thrive. We work together, and especially during this period of time.
I can't tell you how well you spoke of that. That's what it's all about. My heart is for community. I think it's so important. The mountains we can move together if the driving force is together and not bickering amongst each other about toilet papers and essentials.
Absolutely.
If we could go into some of your court-related issues, what type of cases are you currently seeing right now?
Okay, so I touched upon that a little bit, and I apologize for that, but I was assigned to the traffic division. I was hearing traffic court cases from October until March, and the traffic courts have been closed since then, but I've been fortunate with the other traffic judges and the other misdemeanor judges. I'm assigned to the traffic and misdemeanor division to rotate into one of the misdemeanor courtrooms, handling 3 or 4 court calls at a time.
Okay.
So I'm fortunate enough to do that. In a couple weeks, I will be assigned permanently to one of the misdemeanor courtrooms. So I'm excited about that. So there's been a lot of challenges with regard to the cases that we hear. We're only open for essential court business and emergency motions. And so the types of cases that I'm hearing right now might be a little bit more narrow to what I'll be hearing in a few weeks. So.
Sure. With this COVID-19 pandemic, how are you seeing cases and dealing with the public?
Okay, so right now there are some courtrooms that are equipped with some plexiglass.
Yes.
We have hand sanitizers in pretty much every courtroom. We have the litigants stand further away from us, taped lines and so forth.
Sure.
And then if they're represented by an attorney, we there's an order that says the attorney should just come in if try to waive the defendant's appearance
Yes.
if at all possible.
Mhm.
It's been a challenge because obviously we want to have access to justice as well as protecting the public from this COVID. So I think it's going to be an evolving practice. We all have to wear masks, and I think they're going to be doing that in Downers Grove Traffic Court, which I'm currently assigned to right now. And I believe one of the other traffic courts is going to be a move into the building. So we are going to be opening in a couple of weeks for a little bit more business. At least the traffic courts will too. And so it's going to be a challenge, staggering. Maybe we talked about staggering some of the cases and so forth. So it's going to be evolving, and I think as this pandemic continues, we're just going to have to adjust.
Well, as you can see, we're about 6 feet apart. I think maybe even a little more. We are doing our due diligence, but to speak with masks is almost impossible
It is.
in an interview. But I appreciate you
Sure.
being sensitive to Milton Township and wearing gloves, and we appreciate that. Speaking of Milton Township, the Milton Township SALT, the Senior and Law Enforcement Together, and the CERT team, which I'm a part of, Community Emergency Response Team, help expand community engagement through the township. Have you heard or had any involvement with either of the two programs?
I've heard both programs, actually. I am in Downers Grove Township,
Sure.
so I'm very familiar with a lot of their programs, as
Mhm.
I've lived in the community there for many years. But I am familiar with the SALT program and the CERT, because they have sort of similar programs there as well.
Right.
I think with our seniors, they're vulnerable, they're isolated, they're alone, and it's wonderful that you provide these initiatives to keep them informed, to keep them aware of some scams, because they're
Yes.
so vulnerable to that. When actually, as an aside, the Attorney General's office does have a hotline for people who feel they're, that they can report scams and things like that, price gouging, that sort of
Excellent.
thing. And I see you have another food drive on Wednesday with
Yeah.
lawyers lending a
Yes,
hand.
yes.
Yeah, I'm intending to volunteer during or after and before business hours. So
Appreciate that.
volunteer or at least provide some items for the food pantry. So I think it's wonderful that you provide all those resources, Park District resources, rides, and I see you're doing some deliveries too.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
so that's wonderful because I think that it's important for them to feel a part of the community as well.
Some of these seniors can't get out of the house, so
No.
we take it upon ourselves, do a little shopping for them. It's so simple, and
It is.
they pay right away.
It
It's
is.
such a I can't tell you how easy it is for these people as well. That you just gotta call, and there's always someone there to help. So I
That's
appreciate you
wonderful.
recognizing that.
Sure,
Something that I'm heartfelt on.
of course.
What are some of your favorite services you've seen being provided in of the 9 DuPage townships?
Well, as I said, I'm
Downers
Downers
Grove,
Grove Township,
right,
so I'm very
right.
familiar with their programs, and also being a mother, I'm a little bit protective of our youth, and so
Yes.
I would say that the youth services program is probably one that I'm most fond of. I know that they provide a lot of educational and life skills initiatives, bullying, alcohol and drug
Yes.
informative classes. And I know that they work very closely with NAMI of DuPage, which I'm familiar with, mental health services,
Mhm.
and especially during this time with all the stress and anxiety that they're going under, they're seeing their parents undergo, losing a job, sheltering in place, and so I can see that it can be exacerbated. So it's nice that they have those services, and I'm sure Milton does too as
Oh
well.
yes, yeah. It's Milton Township definitely has some mentorships and programs, of course, for the seniors and the youth, but also during this certain time, this COVID-19, we're dealing a lot with the middle of those age groups and
Of course.
with food and dealing with some of the mental anguish of being at home, you know, just not being able to move forward.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you think we can revisit this and interview in a couple months? Say, 2, 3, just to kind of get updates and
Sure, I would love that.
information.
I would
Just
love the opportunity.
see how this happens to evolve around now that the courts are opening, which I believe they're already open, right?
They are open for essential business and emergency motions, but it's going to be expanded on June 8th with regard to, I'm talking about the criminal courts
Yes.
specifically, because that's where I am. And we're going to be opening up more cases or more courtrooms for hearing cases. We're not going to be rotating anymore. We're going to be back in our own courtrooms. So
Be more comfortable.
we'll see.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. I'd like to thank you for being here, and we'd like to also thank Judge O'Toole from DuPage County, making time today on a Sunday away from your family, one day away before Memorial Day. We appreciate it. I'm John Menino with Milton Township and the Township officials. Look forward to talking to you again in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Jeff.